mais concept de transformation sociale, c'est le groupe Trade Unions for Energy Democracy, c'est-à-dire les syndicats pour l'énergie démocratique ou la démocratisation de l'énergie. Et je suis très heureux ce soir de vous présenter Maité Llanos de Trade Unions for Energy Democracy.
Merci Roger. Je m'appelle Maité. My name is Maité. I'm from Argentina, and I was one of the winners of the visa lottery. Even if I only got it on Monday, but it's okay. I'm here, but it's really sad to be in a World Social Forum with such a few people from the South, and knowing the reason why people from the South are not here. So, yes, I think that we need to keep saying this, because otherwise it's going to be nothing happening. I'm part of this network, Trade Unions for Energy Democracy, and it is a new initiative, but it's not new for trade unions, the question of environment, even if it sounds like it is. Trade unions have been working on environment for years. When we talk about occupational safety and health at the workplace, in many cases we are talking about environment. We are talking about dealing with chemicals. We are talking about the cycle of production and disposal and recycling and things like that. So trade unions have been dealing with these issues for years. And also there have been trade union struggles related to what some people call ecology of the poor. Being Chico Mendes, a Brazilian trade unionist, one of the main leaders of the struggle of the seringueiros, the rubber tapper workers in the Amazons. So Trade Unions for Energy Democracy is a new initiative that is based on a trade union tradition to fight at the workplace. And when we're thinking of the workplace, it's not only the factory, the worker with a helmet. Today the workplace is also a city. If we think that 40% of the workers in the world are working in informal economy, many of them are related to environment, working on recycling. They are related to environment, as Naomi was saying, working on health issues. Nurses United have been dealing with the consequences of climate change in the hospital. Teachers are dealing with climate change issues. So it's not only about the picture we can make of ourselves, of what a worker is like. And then, based on those traditions and the differences, different trade unions, we have been building this initiative of unions that were not happy only defending their jobs. Defending their jobs and being on the side of business, defending the dirty industries, etc. Of course there are workers that are defending their jobs because they are being faced with this, or you defend, or it's your job or environment, and of course some of them are defending their jobs, and it's human too. But others are not defending only their jobs because they believe that climate change, as the unions were saying in Paris and before, there are no jobs in a dead planet. So what can we, it's not a question of your job, but all jobs in the world are at stake with the situation we have today. But those trade unions that are in the Trade Unions for Energy Democracy initiative, they are not happy either with greening the economy at any cost, with greening the economy led by the market and leaving social justice outside. Those unions working on this initiative, we want to change the system with social justice and with ecological justice. And therefore, we have been working on this idea of just transition. many unions were working on that, not only those involved in Cuba, but all of them. And that concept came out of union participation in the climate change talks, climate change negotiations. And why did unions got involved in climate change negotiations? Because we thought, well, you know, if we are talking about climate change, it seems that we are going to, if we want to face it and if we want to change the situation, then it means that production and consumption models are going to change. Then we want to be part of it. And we as unions want to have a say there, because if the production system is going to change, then of course many jobs are going to be lost and others may be created. But guess what? The climate change negotiations are not about system change. They are about business as usual. They are about opening the space for corporate interest to green the economy by the same means, by market-oriented mechanisms. So, and even if all the politicians were there shaking hands and were very happy to have an agreement in Paris, and even with the just transition concept in the preamble, it is no more than a license to pollute. And the predecessor of the Paris Agreement is the bilateral agreement between China and the US, which set up the roof for each country's emission. So and it means that countries gave themselves the license to pollute until 2030. So in that context, still there are national commitments, and still we need to hold governments accountable for what they said they were going to do in Paris, or what they say they are going to do at the national level. And let's imagine a world where some countries want to apply in the practice the just transition. What is just transition? It is a transition to a low carbon economy with decent jobs, with living wages and with decent working conditions. But what do we face at the same time? And it happened, when governments want to apply just transition, not led by the market, but publicly led just transition, or any kind of transition, they are facing the free trade agreements or the free trade architecture all over the world. And just let me talk about 3 examples. First, the major one, the WTO. The World Trade Organization, that in the name of market access, in the name of national treatment, the most favored nation, they want to create, the WTO is to create a transparent trade system without market unfair distortions. And lately, one of the unfair distortions was the initiative of India to have, to produce solar panels with local jobs. And you know what? The US said, oh no, that is not possible. That is an unfair trade practice. So India had to stop with their policy. Second example is what Naomi was talking before, the new free trade agreements that include the investor-state dispute settlement mechanism. And I can imagine that in Canada you are aware of it because the NAFTA happily has it. And Canada has been sued more than any other country under this mechanism, being the Ontario Green Economy Act and the Mesa Power against Ontario, one of the most relevant cases. The clause, the buy local clause, has been challenged by a foreign company. And I would like to invite all of you to watch, to take a look at the USTR website, where they explain why ISDS is actually a very democratic instrument. And they say that it is very good because actually local justice tend to be impartial. But of course, the courts in New York, they are not impartial. They will not rule for corporations. They will, of course, rule for the public good. And lastly, there is the TISA, is the Agreement on Services. And a few days before the Paris negotiations started last year, the energy chapter of TISA was leaked, so which you could read it on the Wikileaks. And I think that TISA is particularly a problem for any kind of transition. First, for the scope. It not only stops at the national level, but any kind of policy taken by a regional government, a municipality government, and even it might be by an indigenous community with decision capacity. So any kind of decision has to be adapted to TISA regulations. And the very tricky thing of it is, like in the case of the energy chapter, and let me say that TISA is just the result of the failed negotiations at the WTO, the GATT's failed negotiations, because they were facing many resistances mostly from developing countries. And then TISA is the result of what they call the best friends of services. So 23 countries around the world that are the best friends of services are promoting secretly this agreement. Being one of the chapters, the chapter on energy. And the chapter on energy is, what is regulated there is related to services, related to exploitation, exploration, development and distribution of energy. And it talks about neutrality in technology. It means that any kind of technology, solar, fracking, or any technology related to energy is going to be under this chapter. And there is this paragraph that is wonderful. I would like to read it because it's the Article 5 of the Annex on Energy. Parties recognize state sovereignty and sovereignty rights over energy resources, but they reaffirm that such rights must be exercised in accordance with and subject to the rules of international law. It means to trade. So, since when sovereignty has to be, ruled by trade? So, but this is what is being negotiated behind the scenes, and it is. I don't want to just give like a very negative, vision, because first of all, because in this continent we stopped FTAA with very active action of the Canadians. And I think that we can still win these battles. And I think that we need to do it all at the same time. We don't have like two parallel moments where we can fight for environment one day, and then for free trade, and then for the alternatives. We have to do everything together because, as Naomi was saying, it's time to, or I don't know if you were saying it now or in the movie, but it ends, like it's time to run like a buffalo. And I really like that. I think that this is what we have to do now. At the same time, fighting for environment, stopping free trade agreements, and creating alternatives. And of course, all this, we have to do it together. It's not trade unions alone that are going to deal with governments to have better working conditions. We need to continue building alliances, as we have been building for more than 20 years. As I was also in the first World Social Forum, and I remember years, and I don't like to say this because I'm getting old, but Arundhati Roy saying that we needed to fight transnational corporations because they were at the core of the system, and we still have to do it, and we still need to build alternatives, and we are doing it in different places in the world, and that's why we're here. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here in the World Social Forum. So thank you very much.